Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrjakacharya Ashtutaya Sadishla A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki Shri Gaurnitai Ki Shri Jagannath Baladev Shabhadra Ki Shri Radha Gopinatha Ki Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Harinama Sankirtanam Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Pastyacha Desha Tarine. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Do we need a translation into any language? Well, there may be some Nepali devotees who need a Nepali translation, or maybe some Russian devotees who need a Russian translation. Is there anyone here from Australia? Please put your hand up if you are, what do you call Australians? True Blues? What do you call it? True Blue? True Blue. Are you a True Blue? Any True Blues here? Hands up, the True Blues. Two Aussies. No, there's another one over there. Come on, where's your mitten? Put it up. Come on, 1, 2, another one, 3. 3 True Blues. Good, wonderful. It's the nature of this world today, isn't it? Wherever you go, you find, not everywhere of course, but in many, many parts of the world, you find very few local, kind of like what they say, originals or whatever. It's like that. And you find here, I suppose most of you are from an Indian origin or Nepali origin. How many have a Nepalese origin? Anybody? Hands up the Nepalese originals. Fair few, huh? Indian originals? Quite a lot. Russian originals? Or Ukraine? No, let's say Ukraine. Huh? Where? Russia? Ukraine. Where else have we got? New Zealand. Any Kiwis? Oh, sign of a Kiwi. No Kiwis? You don't let them in over here. Not allowed to Australia anymore. Anyone from Europe? Any Europeans? Europes? Any Europes? Any elopes? No? Well, I guess the rest of you are kind of something else. Where are you from? No, you'll say Nepal. Amazing. Where are you, with a mask? Where are you from? Yeah, I know, Malaysia. I have a friend from Malaysia. Anyone else from Malaysia? couple of Malaysians, nice. International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In London, how many of those brahmacharis are pommies? Maybe one pommy in the whole ashram. You're from England? But you're here, you're in this ashram, are you? Yeah, Ed. But in London, there's a brahmachari ashram there, maybe 12, 15 brahmacharis now. One pommy. From all over the place. The nature of the world. Prabhupada has brought all nations together under the real United Nations, Krishna in the center. No matter where we're from, in this world, we're all one in spirit, we're all Krishna in the center. It's very nice to see so many wonderful, bright, young, whatever age you are, some old faces this morning for Kirtan and Bhagavatam class. Whereas most people should be fast asleep at this point of time. It's Sunday morning. You're supposed to sleep, aren't you, on Sunday morning? Isn't that the tradition? Is that what they do in Australia? They do in England. Most people wake up about 10 or 11 o'clock on Sunday. Isn't it, Ed? Sunday morning is a day of rest, isn't it? You rest as long as you can. But devotees are up bright and early in the morning, even on Sunday. So I guess we're reading from the 16th chapter, is that right? Is that correct? Which verse? Pardon? Chapter 16, text number? 16. 16. Have you all finished your 16? Who's done their 16 rounds this morning? We won't embarrass everybody. I haven't. Text number 16, okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The title of the chapter is Praise of King Prithu by the Professional Reciters. Canto 4, Chapter 16, text number 16. I don't know, last week or yesterday, every day you have Bhagavatam? So yesterday there was no purport. What does that mean? Somebody gave a class but no purport. You did 2 verses yesterday, 14 and 15, huh? Because 15 had no purport. 14 did. Okay, text 16, there is a short purport also. Please repeat. Dvida vrataha satyasandaha brahmanyaha vidasevakaha sharanyaha sarvabhutanam manadaha dinavatsalaha dvidavatak satyasando brahmanyo vridasevakaha sharanyak sarvabhutanam manado dinavatsalaha vedavatak satyasando brahmanya vredasevakaha sharanyak sarvabhutanam manado dinavatsalaha dridavatak satyasandho brahmanyo vridatsevakaha Sharanyak sarva bhutanang manado dina vatsalaha leave it there in case. Dridavataha, firmly determined. Satyasandaha, always situated in truth. Brahmanyaha, a lover of the Brahminical culture. Vedasevakaha, a servitor of the old man. Sharanyaha, to be taken shelter of. Sarvabhutanam, of all living entities. Manadaha, one who gives respect to all. Dina Vatsalaha, very kind to the poor and helpless. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The king will be firmly determined and always situated in truth. He will be a lover of the Brahminical culture and will render all service to old men and give shelter to all surrendered souls. Giving respect to all, he will always be merciful to the poor and innocent. Purport. The word Vida Sevakaha is very significant. Vida means old men. There are two kinds of old men. One is old by age, another is old by knowledge. This Sanskrit word indicates that one can be older by the advancement of knowledge. King Prithu was very respectful to the Brahmins, and he protected them. He also protected persons advanced in age. Whatever the king would decide to do, no one would be able to stop. That is called Dvita Sankalpa, or Dvita Vrata. End of purport by Srila Prabhupada. Om Jnana Timirandasya Nilanjanana Shakaya Chakshurannalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upagadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasade Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Very fascinating subject matter of the professional reciters, Magadas, the suttas and so on, praising King Prithu. Is this not flattery? Is this flattery? What do you think? Sometimes people praise somebody in public. You may have to, otherwise you'll lose your job. But is this the same thing? Are they praising him just so they can get some reward? Are they praising him just to, so that he can be kind of like, rightly or wrongly, considered a great personality? What is this? Is this false? I mean, if somebody praised a normal person like this, they might, whether they fit the role or not, they might become a little proud. Huh? Is that the case here? Imagine if somebody in public, not one person, but a whole group of professionals, praised us like this. You might get a little proud, I don't know. What's going on here? What's happening? You've been reading the verses. Any comments? Any comments, Ganesham? I see you're a wise man. You're giving all kinds of Bhagavatam seminars or whatever it is, Gitas. Yes. They're telling the truth. Has it happened? Well, is that not a little presumptuous to say you were going to be this and this and this? Pardon? Yeah, they're recognizing his position as a supreme personality of God. So this is, because it's the artificially in this world, for whatever material motivation may be involved, people may also sometimes praise an elected or a leader of society or some of their, whatever it may be, they may, but Krishna is the reservoir of all qualities. And there's a few other factors we could say, and there's a lot more, but I know there's one purport somewhere, I couldn't find it, but which gives a little bit more in-depth discussion or on this subject matter of appropriate praise and inappropriate praise. If it's done just like flattery or to attain some kind of, some reward, otherwise you may have some problem. It's quite often the case that the king employs persons who are his lackeys, we say, persons who simply, support whatever he does and try to make him sound like he's a great guy. Political maneuvers are there. But this is not. This is the truth. It's true. These are the reciters knowing that he's the personality of Godhead. They can see also by his his character, his qualities, that these will naturally be manifested in due course of time. That is, any Rajarishu, any great king, naturally, by nature, is going to, be a protector of the elderly persons, of the Brahmins are very dear to them, and so on and so forth. Because, Krishna himself says, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha, that the Brahmins and the cows are very dear to him. Naturally, they're going to protect them. But they protect all living entities. They see every living entity as prajas. They're all, born. They're all part of the kingdom, and no matter what species they are, the leader will be concerned for their welfare. This is an actual leader, not just to control the people, to utilize the people for your own agenda, but to protect them so that they don't lose this opportunity, whatever species they're in, of course, maybe especially in human life, great opportunity for God realization. So, topmost duty, you could say, of the executive head is to facilitate the development of God consciousness. Earlier, in one of the earlier purports, Prabhupada mentioned that if the devotees of Krishna could be in democratic countries nowadays, we don't have monarchy much, take the democratic government and give everyone this opportunity, would be a great thing. It would be wonderful for the whole world. Everyone would benefit if there was genuine devotees, Vaishnavas, guiding society. This is the idea, because the goal, or the purpose of all of this is, of course, to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The praises of these professionals is for everyone's benefit. By hearing the glories of King Prithu, everyone benefits. It's not that King Prithu... Perhaps some of you have had an experience, devotees at least, maybe not so much others, I don't know. Maybe also, but especially devotees. Sometimes you're praised. How do you feel? How do you feel if someone starts praising you in public? How do you feel? Pardon? Embarrassed? If when Vaishnavi says she feels embarrassed, do they praise you in public? They do sometimes. There you go. So you feel embarrassed. Any other emotional responses? Pardon? Proud. Okay, there's a person, one of my kind. Feel very proud. Which camp are you in? Anyone else in this camp? And then 2 camps here. But any more camps? Pardon? Speechless. Okay, speechless. But do hope that the praisers don't become speechless. We hope that they become even more speechful. Keep on praising. No, Prabhu, but please keep praising me. I'm the most fallen. I'm not at all qualified, but please keep on going. Don't stop. You get that feeling sometimes? Yes, he's definitely one of my team here. So, come and see me afterwards, okay? Anyone else got any other interesting experiences, or maybe you haven't ever been praised in your life? Sometimes we feel like we've never been praised, and there's a reason for that. Yeah. Because we want to be praised, and Krishna's very kind. He doesn't allow us to be praised. Why are they getting all the recognition? What about me? I'm doing so much work around here. What's the use of it? I don't get praised. Nobody recognizes me. They're all nonsense. Sometimes we think like that. Huh? We don't get praised. Anything else? Any other realizations or humbled? Okay, humbled. That's something deeper than embarrassed, you could say. Embarrassed may have various other factors involved in it. Who knows what other us are, but many can be other motivations in embarrassed. But humble, if we take the real terminology, then definitely you could be feeling humbled. A topic in itself. Anything else? You feel very shy. They're a little bit related, at least on that, in that camp. I'm not in that camp, so I don't know about that. But it sounds like they are shy. You feel like hiding yourself. It's a little related to embarrassed, I suppose. Anything else? Pardon? Well, yeah, that word satisfied, of course, we could see that in different ways, isn't it? I mean, satisfied in as much as you feel like, what's the word? Very kind of happy and you're relishing it. You're relishing the praise, huh? But you don't mean that necessarily, do you? You're just sat there relishing the praise and just lapping it up. This is better than a gulab. Better than, this is really nectar to be praised. I have to do everything I can to get praised. And even if I have to pay people to praise me, I'll do it. Yes. Everyone should worship me. It can be a little bit of a little bit of subtle sexism. But if you're feeling, I don't know how to say that, but you're satisfying others, you're feeling, in one sense, yes. I guess you could say yes. That if it's honest, and it's genuine, just like you had the book marathon. I don't know how you do it here. The book distribution. Did you have a book marathon? Did you have a book marathon? How many Bhagavad Gitas did you distribute here? Huh? Come on, that's a month and a half ago. Goodness gracious. What is this? Phew. Anyway, approximately how many? Who's the Sankirtan book distributor? Who's the leader? You the leader? Are you the leader? No, he's not the leader. Are you the compiler of the scores? How many? 1,000 Gitas? Come on. You're joking. I mean, everybody together. You did 1,000. Altogether, 1,000. Only 1,000? In Sydney? Look at how many people, how many devotees are in this room? There must be 60, 70, 80 devotees in this room. 1,000. How many? If all 60 of you distribute 30 Bhagavad Gita, that's one a day. That comes to 1,000. Isn't it? Or more than 1,000, isn't it? 60 times 30. How many is that? Huh? Huh? Is it? That's not much. Come on, get your act together. But just say you did 100,000 Gitas between you. And, I don't know hardly anyone's names here, only a few. Okay. Nityananda Pran, we know this man here, he's very happy to be praised. He just said, satisfied. Distributed 2,758 Bhagavad Gitas in December. Jai! Boom, 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 boom. And there you get your gift, your prize. Second place. And first place, I don't know many other names. Who else should we pick on? Well, there's Ganesham. He looks like a... Ganesham! Dun 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 dun! 3,895 Bhagavad Gitas! The whole temple's roaring. And he's like trying to hide his humility. I made it. Sometimes Krishna does that to us just to keep us going. We had one devotee in London. He was the top book distributor, actually. Wonderful young man, but he wasn't very good with his sadhana. He wasn't much into japa or reading or anything, but somehow he had this ability to distribute lots and lots of books. And he asked this question in class one day. Trivikram Swami was giving class back in the 70s, and he asked him, Maharaj, I don't understand it. He had a kind of humility about him, indeed. He said, I've got the worst sadhana in the temple, yet every day I distribute the most books. What's going on? I don't understand it. He was humble, Scottish boy. And Maharaj said, what would you do if you weren't the top book distributor? What would you do? He kind of thought for a while. He said, because the top book distributor used to get the Maha Prasad every breakfast time. That was one of his motives. A few others. He said, I'd probably leave. So see how Krishna is reciprocating with you. See how he's trying to encourage you. Those who have children, sometimes you have to do that, don't you? You've got kids. Sometimes even, you have to, not sometimes, you have to encourage them. You have to encourage them. It's not just about, teaching. Some recognition has to be there, especially for neophytes, or for children. For most of us, some recognition. It's difficult if you don't get any recognition in a conditioned state. Even if it's just a simple thank you, isn't it? In many cases. It's not that it's required. Those who are on the transcendental platform, it's not important for them, but for others it is. So for people in general, there's many lessons to be learned in this chapter. You could say one is, of course, praise should be appropriate also. It shouldn't be for flattery or for ill motivations. It should be appropriate to the receiver as well as the situation. To emphasize how this person, how great he is, so others actually know that this person is great. Information, informing, and so on and so forth. Maybe it encourages others. There's a kind of an envy. Now, normally we hear envy is not something which can be. We hear about lust and greed, and anger, madness, illusion, how these various inimical, generally speaking, inimical coverings of the living entity can be engaged in Krishna's service, but envy is often said, at least it's described it, but envy has to be given up. But there's a positive side also, given up, you can interpret various ways, but there is a positive side, but it's not the material envy. In other words, if somebody is doing very well, sometimes Prabhupada instigated this, didn't he, in our movement? And it's not you depend on it or live by it, it's not the objective goal of our lives, in one sense. But he instituted competition amongst devotees. And he liked it. He liked to see the devotees, and he would even fan that competitive spirit in many cases. You can't remember. There's an interesting quote about Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Some of you may be disciples of Tamal Krishna Maharaj. He used to come here a lot. And, how... I can't remember what he said. Some of you may remember, but he was defeated. His Radha Damodar party were defeated in the book marathon, I think, by the West Coast or something. And Prabhupada really found it. I don't know what he said. Something. if Tamal Crash Maharaj is defeated, then he will, I don't know what he said, something, resign or something or other. He fanned this spark a little bit. Yes, it did create a little bit of mixture, you could say, in our acceptance of being praised or whatever. But in order to encourage other things too, the book distribution itself, and to encourage devotees to increase their book distribution. Of course, that is not the ultimate goal, is to please Krishna, to become free of all desire to become praised, to become recognized. Is a bit of a contrary, a bit of a challenge really, in the sense that there's two things, and maybe some of you know the Sanskrit. One is to praise, the other is to criticize. And both, in one sense, are not. But of the two, we can praise, but we should not criticize, unless you have to, managerially speaking. Sometimes productive or constructive criticism is required, but in general, that we don't do that. It's not good. We look for the good qualities. For the receiver, of course, that's another thing. A genuine devotee, when we say genuine, a very advanced devotee, those who are aspiring for it, they don't have any problem being criticized or being chastised. They don't. Now, when we're chastised, how do we feel? We're going to get two camps here as well. Which camp are you in here? You're in my camp, right? You get angry, right? Until you try to control it so you can put on a good show of humility. But inside, we don't like it. That guy, I'm not going to associate with them anymore. And then the other camp is, thank you, Prabhu, I need all the help I can get in my spiritual life. You were very kind to me. I really mean it. Please help me to become free of my anarthas. So on one side, you can feel, disturbed. Rightly or wrongly, a devotee sees it like that. He sees that, even if there isn't, we could say, apparent reason to be chastised or criticized, a devotee will understand that Krishna's hand is working. Krishna's hand is working behind everything. And the devotee will see it like that. Tries to learn the lesson which Krishna is teaching us. We're open to Krishna's guidance. And even if we're praised, we see we have no qualities. If there is anything, it's simply the mercy. It's just simply Krishna's qualities. Somebody is recognizing Krishna's qualities. They're not mine. They're Krishna's. It's Krishna. Glorification of Krishna. Transparent. The way is transparent. And he takes it, or the glorification, as glorification of his spiritual master, glorification of the parampara, glorification of Krishna. He doesn't think this is me. That's when the blockage comes. I deserve this, I'm great. Whatever greatness, whatever quality. Even Lord Chaitanya would, when he was with Balavabhata was praising him, and Lord Chaitanya, he deferred all the praise to other devotees. I have nothing. If there is anything you're seeing there, it's simply due to another devotee, to Ramananda Roy, to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, to whoever. Doesn't take that praise for me. It's not for me. Ultimately, it's for Krishna. So a devotee sees it. And, well, what can you say? We're not so advanced, so we may not be able to discriminate very well. But he also thinks of helping the person who's praising, to help to deflate their whatever material coverings are there in advanced devotee. From our side, at least we can try to take shelter of the Lord. Take shelter of the Lord. Remember the Lord. It's more challenging when we're praised than it is when we're criticized or chastised, in one sense. because it's easy to get carried away with praise, become attached to it, and think that I am an advanced devotee, or I am a good book distributor, or I am this. Of course, if we are empowered, if Krishna is giving us a little bit of that, then we try to share it with others. We don't deny it, but we understand it's His mercy. We don't take it. It's even Srila Prabhupada, we see that how he would not take, he would hear it, but he would always pass it. It's all my spiritual master's mercy. We sing quite often, your mercy is all that I am made of. I have nothing. So for the sake of others, sometimes one has to hear that. The test is there, we're tested. It's a test. It's a test. It's not so much what we did or didn't do. It's a test of our, how much we're progressing in Krishna consciousness, how we react. So praise comes, and we try to, we don't get angry with a person who's praising. We defer the praise to the Supreme Lord. And of course we may have to sometimes educate others in this particular subject matter, if we're able to. And when we're criticized, doesn't matter who it is, or if we're chastised, doesn't matter who it is. We may get criticized by people in general, we may get chastised by someone close to us. It could be anything. But to see Krishna's hand working in this duality, you could say, of interaction, to see Krishna behind it, and to try to get equal balance, to be in that situation, not angry, not like elated, or maybe elated for the welfare of others or the benefit of the person who's maybe, thank you so much, you're very kind. That type of response is there from an advanced devotee, from being chastised or criticized. But here the professional reciters, for their own purification, where glorification is appropriate, to recognize the surrender of the devotees to the mercy of the Lord. That a devotee is accepting that mercy, not denying it, but understanding that this is Krishna's mercy on me. So to recognize that is very good, very beneficial for us. Anyway, Krishna's in the heart, and He knows what we need, what is good for us. And sometimes when we hear other people being praised, we become envious. We become jealous, we become envious, we become disturbed. Sometimes there's this room for envy when someone else is doing very nicely and they're getting recognized. We hope it's not the material envy, that we simply want to be recognized, but the mere fact that they're doing very nicely in their service, even on the spiritual plane, the eternal associates of the Lord, they are always of the feeling, I'm insignificant, my service is so insignificant, this devotee is doing so much wonderful service which is bringing pleasure to Krishna. If only I could bring pleasure to Krishna like they do. It's a kind of envy in one sense, but it's a positive one because it's for the pleasure of Krishna. That type of feeling may be positive, but if it's like, the other side, we just want to have the recognition, we want to be number one on top of the pack, whatever it is, that's not so good. But for the pleasure of Krishna, yes. So if that praise is genuinely speaking, meant for that purpose. In this case, Prithu Maharaj is, an empowered incarnation of Godhead. So they're seeing, hopefully they're seeing like that, and they're recognizing it. How glorious. And Krishna is very pleased, by the way. We all know that. when he sees his devotees. Krishna prefers to see his devotees recognized than he does being recognized himself. He likes to give the credit to his devotees. The devotees like to give the credit to him. But he likes to give the credit to devotees. And that pleases Krishna. Pleases Krishna when a genuine cause of praise is offered to a devotee. Krishna can be pleased. As you said, it satisfies Krishna. Interesting. It's a very interesting subject matter, and it's very, you could say, complex in many ways, because it depends on our attitude. Everything depends on our attitude. What is the motive? What is the attitude? We want to cultivate the favorable attitude, anukulyena, that which pleases Krishna. That which pleases Krishna. So if we're cultivating the attitude that I want to be recognized, I want to be praised, that's not favorable. If we're cultivating the attitude, I want to recognize the service of other devotees, I want to praise Krishna, that's favorable. If we're cultivating the mentality, I never want to be criticized, I never want to be chastised, but I'm happy to chastise and criticize others, that's not very favorable. If we're in the mood of correcting others, we have to be willing to be corrected ourselves. It's a two-way thing. We have to be willing to be corrected. Or we have to be willing to praise others. So Krishna knows, and we pray and hope that we will be able to understand his mercy working in various ways, through the form of praise or criticism. There's a whole list here of the wonderful qualities of King Prithu, and of course one could go into the one by one list of how important it is to protect all persons, Brahmin persons, children, women, cows, and so on and so forth, and all the other aspects of the genuine leader in society. They're all praiseworthy, and everyone should understand that, and we should all work in that direction to protect or look after elderly people, to recognize persons who are advanced. As Prabhupada says here, two kinds of considered like old age we see in the case of, well, even earlier in the third canto, how Lord Kapila Dev is the son of Devahuti, but she's accepting him as her authority. It's not to do with the age. The four Kumars were like little babies almost, but they were recognized by the greatest sages of the universe as the most learned personalities, and they would respect them. Shukadeva Goswami, when he entered into the forest of Naimisharanya, in the assembly of the sages there, they all stood up to receive him, because they could see that he was transcendental, spiritually advanced. People in general cannot see that. But those who have that mature realization can. Although a devotee doesn't want praise, Madhavendra Puri certainly didn't want praise when he left Ramuna after being, let's say, rewarded or recognized by Gopinath, who gave him, or sent through his pujari, the kheer, milk, boiled down milk, kheer. And obviously the pujari was very amazed to see this interaction, would have informed everyone else how great this personality is. So Madhavendra Puri didn't want praise. He left on the spot and went to Puri. But fame, genuine praise, went ahead of him, and they already knew about it when he reached Puri. That's how it works. Krishna arranges. Although the devotee doesn't want it, Krishna wants it. Krishna wants it. And what can we do? It's humbling, maybe embarrassing, maybe not quite the same. Embarrassing can have different aspects, but humbling, yes, for sure. We feel unqualified and we just take shelter of our spiritual master and Krishna. That's very favorable. very favorable situation, test. So many tests are there in our lives, whether it's one way or the other. Everything is like a test, how we respond to the situation. Not so much the situation, but how we respond. Do we put ourselves in the center? Do we put Krishna in the center? That's the test, isn't it? Do we put Guru and Garanga in the center, or do we put me in the center? And we can look at that and see. It is possible to stand aloof to see how our emotions are going. And it's good if we can do that and recognize there's some work to do here. Homework. Krishna's giving me some homework. We may not like homework, but you have to do it if you want to pass the exam. A little bit of homework, self-purification. Any questions? We didn't touch directly on the purport much. Any questions, comments? Come on. Ask something. Say something. Yes, Ed. Sometimes we maybe, I didn't get the second part. Sometimes we feel satisfied seeing another devotee who we might be envious of. You may be envious of another devotee, but you're happy if they don't succeed. Yeah, why not? Sounds good to me. That's our policy, isn't it? That's our, the political party, what they say, their manifesto. That's our manifesto. Sounds really good. Good idea. That's what I came here for. What do you think? You think it's good? Pardon? Doesn't feel very nice. Well, it's good if it doesn't feel very nice. That means change can take place. If you think this is really good and you're going around justifying all your whatever it is, that's not good. But if you actually feel bad about it, we do have a bit of that in us. We like to see others fail. We're happy when they die. We're happy when they're kicked out. We're happy when they get criticized. It's not me. Prabhupada compares it to the wet stool, dry stool situation, doesn't he? Cow dung. Wet stool is the wet cow dung philosophy. The wet cow dung is stuck on the wall in India. They put the cow patties on the wall of the mud huts. And the dry, when it becomes dry, it goes into the fire. They cook with gobar over there, with cow dung. Some people do. And the wet stool is thinking, ha 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 ha, just see. He deserved it. He's getting burned. But don't worry, you'll be in the fire soon. And somebody else will be looking at you. Ha 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 ha. Just see Ed got burned. Yes, it's definitely not what we're looking towards. We may have a bit of that in us, but if you recognize, if you don't feel good about it, then you're feeling repentant about it. Let's give an example. Parikshit Maharaj is slightly different, but it's the same example. When he was, you can read this, of course it's in the first canto of Bhagavatam, but when he garlanded, if you want to call it that, put the dead snake over the shoulder of Kaushik Rishi, out of apparent anger. This is all orchestrated by the Lord in this case. It's strange behavior, to say the least. An ordinary person may do that, but a saintly person would never do that. He would never take offense. Kaushika Rishi was a great sage, was in deep meditation. He didn't even see that Parikshit Maharaj was nearby. But Parikshit took offense that he's ignoring me. Who does he think he is? And but afterwards, he left that place on his way back home. He was feeling very repentant. So Prabhupada describes how repentance, that is a sign of a good soul, and it's a sign of, at least we're beginning the change of heart is taking place. From putting ourselves in the center, and we're always right, I'm always right, I deserve it. I deserve to be recognized, and so on. Putting that aside. And no longer justifying one's behavior, the wrong, but no, trying to defend it. We have this tendency to defend ourselves also. This is another meaning of a devotee. We defend others, we don't defend ourselves. It's another meaning. It's not so much physical, it's more emotional, it's more subtle. It's a very subtle subject. Defending ourselves. You may sometimes have to physically defend, but that's not the big one. The big one is the internal one. We're trying to defend our misbehavior. We're trying to defend our envy or whatever it is. We're trying to defend it. It's so amazing. Our false ego tries to convince, or whatever you want to call it, to convince us. It's this side of the mind. It's just trying to convince us. No, it's okay. It wasn't wrong. It wasn't. On the other side, say no, it was wrong. It wasn't wrong. You get this internal battle going on sometimes between, not trying to. It's very difficult to come out honestly and say I was really wrong, and so on. So at least it starts with recognition, some repentant feeling about how we feel about somebody. This is a huge topic, but in general, yes, it's not good. It's a sign that we have some homework to do. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur, if you sing some of his songs, you'll see he does express these type of feelings. I mean, when I see others happy, I am miserable. When I see others miserable, I am happy. He sings like this. And there's an element of that in a conditioned soul. Maybe a big degree of that, maybe a lesser degree, but it's there. The pure devotee, they're unhappy to see others unhappy. Paradukha dukhi. And, of course there's material happiness, spiritual happiness, so they're not necessarily happy to see people materially happy in the way they describe it, but ultimately happy when they're connected to Krishna. They're happy. You're happy when you see somebody take a book. Not so much because you're thinking, I'm the doer, but more how wonderful it is that they've connected with Krishna. It's a natural feeling. And devotee is very sad and sorry to see the state of people in general, and especially those who are, let's say, very much negative and so on. He's very unhappy to see that. Sorry, and praying for the welfare of all. Oh, I don't know if that's... I think you already know the answer. You're just bringing up a point which sometimes we all may feel to some degree or another. We like to put ourselves on top, and if someone else goes down, we've gone up from number 16 to number 15 on the chart. Sometimes that mentality is there. Anything else? Yes, two hands, whoever you like. I don't know. Okay. Can you speak loud and clear?
In terms of devotional service, if we have setbacks.
In terms of devotional service?
In devotional service on spiritual life, if we have setbacks.
Setbacks.
See Krishna's hand
Oh, setbacks, yeah, setbacks. Have a setback. What would you describe as a setback?
Means we have some challenges.
Yeah, what type of challenge?
Means it's not going on how we want to go, or maybe it's couldn't able to do some services.
There's different types of things. Some people would define a setback as you lose your house, you lose your job, you lose your husband or wife, or you lose somebody close to you, or you lose your money, or things materially speaking. And is that what you're referring to, or are you referring to something else?
Not exactly material. Let's say we want to do some preaching, but it's not happening.
Okay, it's not happening. Okay, so in terms of the execution of our understanding of devotional service, and it's not going well, or what we perceive as well. I'll give a little example. One young brahmachari was with us in France for about 2 years. You remember Acharya? Were you there when he was there? Maybe you remember. Acharya. He was, he had a very difficult life. Materially speaking, he was really a failure. He joined the Hare Krishna movement, and he really very dedicated, sincere devotee, but generally speaking, he wasn't very productive. I mean, he'd go on book distribution quite a few days in Paris, and he would distribute no books at all. Not one. Be out there for 6 hours and not distribute a single book. Now, not many of you would continue doing it if that happened to you, would it? So for him, we didn't take it as a setback. He came with me one time to England. Did you come with us that time? So you know exactly what happened. We went to the first town we landed in England. We had some time on our hands, so we went on Sankirtan there, distributing books and chanting. And he was distributing books, and he distributed a fair few books. I said to him after, I said, it's so good here compared to Paris, isn't it? He said, no. What do you mean? He said, in Paris, Paris is so good, but you don't do any books hardly. It's so good because it helps me to develop Trinadapi Nichena Tororapi Sahishnana. It helps me to develop a little bit of tolerance, a little bit of humility, a little bit of respect for others. Krishna knows what's good for us. So when that happens, there's a good reason for it. And if you're wondering if it's just me, just look at Srila Prabhupada's example. You only don't have to look very far, or any seasoned preacher in our movement will, no doubt, have had much experience in this regards. It's to bring us to the right motivation. We're not here to achieve external things, whether it's opening a temple or, making many disciples. They're all there, but that's not the ultimate goal. From Krishna's point of view, what does he want? What does he want? What does Krishna want? That's what counts. What does he want? Devotional service means, some said here, Haritoshnam. What does Krishna want? Does he need temples? Does he need hundreds of, people running around? Does he need these things? What does he want? Who knows? One word. Pardon? Love. Thank you. Surrender is... Surrender us. I'll cut your head off. Good, he surrendered. Now I can do what I like with him. It's obviously part of the understanding, but ultimately it's love, isn't it? You don't just want somebody who surrenders to you. You want some love. You want love. You want loving. You want love. That's what Krishna's looking for. He's not looking for yours. And of course, as we briefed on, is part of the process that some We need some kind of encouragement, no doubt about that. And Krishna knows that, but ultimately he wants love. Sometimes he takes everything away. I have one very dear godbrother, and in one sense Krishna took pretty much everything, people recognize. They took it away. And it was clearly obvious what was going on, although it may not have been seen like that in general, but obviously Krishna wanted his love. But when we get stuck in a situation which is unfavorable for that, then Krishna may take it away. If we're depending on the situation and not depending on Krishna, at some point of time Krishna may take the situation away. Because you're depending on results, you're depending on, recognition, you're depending upon the feeling you have when it works, you're depending on being, whatever, others are doing it, I should also. We're depending on other things, and we're not necessarily depending on the essence, depending on Krishna. In happiness, success, failure, distress, whatever it is, depending on Krishna. And I'm sure if you think carefully, you can think of many examples of that in our own circle of devotional friends, devotees, movement, and so on. That's the point, that we become dependent upon Krishna and ultimately love Krishna. Whatever you do to me. You just chanted before the class. What did you chant before the class? What did you chant before we started? What was it? Yeah, that's one thing, but one of the later verses, what does Lord Chaitanya say? You chanted Sikshastakam, okay. What does he say? That's one thing. Go further. Yeah, whatever you do, my Lord, because ultimately everything is working under Krishna's direction. Whatever happens, whatever you do, you may do what you like, but I love you unconditionally. He's trying to bring us to the unconditional platform, not the material one, where I love you if you love me, or you give me this, or you give me that, or if I get this or that. So when seeming what we call setbacks come in our lives, it's actually, it may appear like that, and it may be difficult, we may not be so mature yet, but if we can remember these verses, or remember these teachings of Lord Chaitanya, then you can gain great strength. It's not that we purposely, therefore, try to manipulate or try to maneuver situations where failure is the result. We try our best to do our best, but we're not in. Everything ultimately is in Krishna's hands, not ours. We just offer our hands for Krishna's pleasure. What he wants to do with them is up to him. Don't become despondent. Try to see this as in a positive light. Anything else? Ed's already asked. Yes. You had your hand up or not? No, I saw some movement there. Any ladies? Yes.
How about there's a situation where a devotee in service takes credit for somebody else's service?
Can I get that straight again?
A devotee who's done the service, but somebody else gets the credit for it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, I touched on that a little bit earlier. It refers to why. The question we have to ask is why. Why? Because the temple president doesn't like me. That's the simple answer to that. Any other questions? And from your side, just stop doing the service, full stop. Don't do it anymore. Waste of time. Waste of time doing it if you don't get recognized, isn't it? What's the point, What do you think? Isn't it Ganesham? Waste of time, right? What do you mean, no? What type of temple president are you? What do you think? Come on, you tell me.
I'd say
Okay, that's a good one. Anything else? Anyone else like to add? That was nice. Thank you. Anything else? Yeah.
But when you do service for Krishna, you don't do it for getting credit from others. As long as Krishna is recognizing it, how does it matter who others? You're doing it for.
That's a really nice. Oh boy, that's a really transcendental. I would have never thought of that. My God. Oh my goodness. Did you hear what she said? I dare repeat it. It's too dangerous. Ooh. No way. What did she say? Come on. You didn't hear that, did you? That type of statement is not allowed in our party. Dear me. Oh my goodness. What's she saying?
If we do the service for Krishna, Krishna recognizes that's enough.
Wasn't there another line to it? You hear what he said? Is that okay? Yes, he guesses it's okay. You're not doing it to get recognized. Was that what you said? You're doing it to please Krishna. Okay, that's nice, isn't it? Is that okay? You agree with that? Okay. I know you don't. I know that. Who cares less what Krishna thinks? We'll have a vote afterwards. A vote. Who's in whose party here? Hey, what else? Anything else? Yes. On that point, I mean. Yeah, on that point. Anything else on that point? Yes, one of you two. Are you together? Okay. What are you going to do? Two opposite points here. Ladies first. Okay.
The act of service itself is to establish a bond with Krishna. So, regardless of whether it gets recognized or not, if you think that you're doing it for recognition, it's not for Krishna anymore. So, it's like, in a way, it's a good thing if you don't get recognized. Because now there's only one person you can dedicate it to, that is Krishna.
Can you summarize that?
She said the whole point of doing the service is to have a connection with Krishna.
Connection, bondage with Krishna.
So it's sometimes good that you don't get recognized because you only can get recognized from Krishna. So it's good.
Nice, very nice. Thank you very much. Similar to what you said, very similar.
I was going to say something similar. I guess every action we do with detachment, like one of the biggest teachings of Bhagavad Gita.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it?
And anything you do, if you're attached to the outcome, then
Very good. I mean, you've studied the Gita. I can see that, isn't it? If you study Bhagavad Gita, you'll probably come a few verses like that, isn't it? We're not getting to them now. You have to look for them. But Krishna does say that a few times in the Gita, doesn't he? That's a good point. Shastric reasons. And another reason which you kind of touched on, maybe you did. I didn't hear clearly, maybe. But nothing happens by chance. Even materially, there's a law of karma there involved. There's action and reaction. Everything has its causal reasons. From a devotee's point of view, let's look at another thing. We understand that devotee is not exactly under karma. It's Krishna's hand working. So what's going on there? From a somewhat, maybe touched upon, or maybe I didn't pick it up, but it didn't seem clarified to me. There's something else going on here. Yes.
Maybe in the past we took credit for someone else's service.
Maybe in the past we. Well, that's another. That's how a devotee may see it, isn't it? Prabhupada, when he was in Montreal or Toronto, it must have been Montreal, there was one Indian gentleman who was coming regularly to Prabhupada's programs, and then at one public program, this man stood up when Prabhupada said any question or comments, and he started laying in on to Prabhupada. He started criticizing. He was I wasn't there, but we all heard about it maybe, but it was offensive. Prabhupada simply tolerated. Devotees were kind of, because Prabhupada tolerated, they didn't act, but they all felt like, oh God, they want to beat him or something, And Prabhupada, then afterwards they asked her, Prabhupada said, in my last life I must have offended him. He said. We can't imagine that being the case, but Prabhupada said like that, just like your point in my last life. I must have criticized them or whatever it was, or put them down or something like that. You know. Things come around, but from a devotee's point of view, there's one. Okay, now we're going to go around. 10th Canto, 14th chapter, text number 8, the most famous verse perhaps in the whole Bhagavatam in some ways. What is it? 10:14:8. Pardon? Tatenu kampam sushi mikshamanam bunjana iva.
Of a great Vaishnava,